The stage is locked in for one of the wildest matchups of Week 17, and it's not really about playoff math or division crowns at all. Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers can lock up the AFC North with a win over the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. And sure, they're feeling good after that electric win over the Detroit Lions. But that's not what has everyone talking right now. The real buzz, the thing lighting up the football world, is what's about to happen when rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders lines up across from Mike Tomlin's Steelers. This isn't just another game, it's a moment. And what Tomlin just said about Sanders sent shockwaves through the league and had fans and insiders asking some serious what-if questions about the past and the future. Mike Tomlin isn't the type to gas people up for fun. The longtime Steelers head coach, one of the sharpest minds in football, a guy who's seen every kind of quarterback possible over nearly 20 years in Pittsburgh, doesn't hand out praise unless it's earned. So when Tomlin stepped up to the mic on Tuesday and dropped a glowing take on Shedeur Sanders, people didn't just listen, they leaned in hard. They listened closely. He is doing a really good job. He is growing with each week. From an outsider's perspective, I think it's always cool when you're growing with company. On the surface, it sounds calm, almost casual, but dig deeper and it hits different. Those words carry weight because this wasn't some random observation from afar. Mike Tomlin and the Steelers know Sanders more than most people realize. During the draft process, they didn't just skim his tape, they got hands-on. Pittsburgh brought Sanders in for a pre-draft meeting after his electric run at Colorado. They sat with him, grilled him, studied him up close, and did serious homework. And according to multiple reports at the time, this wasn't just a courtesy look, it was real interest. There was real heat inside the Pittsburgh building about drafting Sanders as he kept sliding down the board way further than most analysts ever expected. The chatter got loud. People around the league seriously thought the Steelers might jump in and lock up their quarterback of the future right then and there. But they didn't pull the trigger, they passed. Sanders kept falling until Cleveland scooped him up, and now, just months later, Mike Tomlin is watching that same quarterback grow in another uniform. And yeah, you've got to wonder if even a tiny spark of regret is sitting in the back of Tomlin's mind, because what Shedeur Sanders has shown so far has turned heads in a big way. Despite stepping into a Brown situation that's been shaky and far from ideal, with limited help around him and plenty of pressure, Sanders has looked legit. Calm under fire, smart with the ball, confident in the huddle. What he's put on tape in limited action has been genuinely impressive and hard to ignore. The poise, the arm talent, the football IQ, the leadership that made Sanders such a hot prospect in the first place is showing up every week. So when Tomlin says Sanders is growing with each week, that's not empty coach talk. That's a real read from someone who knows exactly what he's watching. Tomlin coached Ben Roethlisberger through championship runs. He's evaluated endless quarterbacks over the years. He knows what real development looks like, and what Sanders is doing, even while playing on a team still finding its footing, has clearly earned his respect. And that phrase, growing with company, says a lot about how Tomlin views the process. Sanders isn't out there alone, getting tossed into chaos with no backup. He's surrounded by other young players, other rookies, other guys trying to carve out their place in the league. They're learning together, struggling together, getting sharper together. That shared grind builds real bonds and real chemistry, the kind you can't fake or fast track. Tomlin sees the path Sanders is on, respects it, and understands the value of that grind, even if the wins aren't stacking up yet. But let's not dodge the real tension here. The Steelers passed on Shedeur Sanders in the draft. They had chances, they had interest, and they let him slide straight into the hands of a division rival. Now they could be lining up against him twice a year for the next decade or more, and that's heavy. That's the kind of front office decision that can stick with a franchise for years. If Sanders turns into the star many believe he can be, just picture it, watching a quarterback you could have had torch your defense twice every season, leading a rival, becoming the face of a team you clash with in one of the NFL's nastiest rivalries. That thought alone keeps people up at night. The media definitely hasn't forgotten any of this, and they made sure to bring it up during Sanders' Tuesday press conference. They asked the obvious questions. Does this matchup mean more because it's against the Steelers, the team that passed on him? Does making his first divisional start against them add extra juice to the moment? Those are fair questions, because let's keep it real. Competitors remember everything. Every athlete remembers who believed and who didn't. But Sanders, staying true to the calm and professional vibe he's shown all season, gave the exact answer you'd want to hear. I know getting a win versus any team means a lot for the Browns. You go into each and every game with motivation. I approach every game the same. That's grown man talk, no shots fired, no drama, no extra noise. That response checks every box you want from a franchise quarterback. No bulletin board quotes, no emotional flare-ups, no talk about proving people wrong. Just focus, discipline, and team-first energy. Still, let's be honest, even if he'll never say it out loud, deep down, there's a spark there, a quiet edge, a desire to show the Steelers exactly what they passed on. That's human nature. That's competitive fire. And that kind of edge is often what separates good players from the ones who turn into something special. The best athletes on the planet turn doubt, real or imagined, into straight motivation. Michael Jordan kept mental receipts on everyone who ever questioned him. Tom Brady never forgot being picked in the 6th round and watching 198 names get called before his. That chip on the shoulder thing is real and it's powerful. Shedeur Sanders doesn't have to say he's extra motivated for this game. His play will do all the talking, louder than anything he could say at a podium. And make no mistake, this moment is huge for him. The Steelers are rolling right now, playing their sharpest football of the season. They're fresh off that statement win over the Lions. They're pushing hard for playoff position and an AFC North title. Their defense is physical, disciplined, and unforgiving. This is the kind of test that shapes how a young quarterback is viewed around the league. If Sanders steps into this matchup, whether it's in Pittsburgh or at home, and holds his own against that defense, it sends a loud message. It tells the league he's not just hanging around in the NFL, he belongs here. It shows he can rise up against top-tier competition even when everything around him isn't perfect. And maybe most importantly, it forces every team that passed on him to rethink things, especially the Steelers, who did their homework and showed real interest before letting him slip away. That kind of performance sticks with people. Now flip the lens to Pittsburgh's side, because this part is just as wild. The Steelers can lock up the AFC North with a win, which would be massive for a team plenty of folks doubted coming into the season. They're peaking at the right time, getting production from all over the roster, playing clean, connected football in all 3 phases. But they'll be heading into this one without their wide receiver. There's been some confusion floating around, so let's clear it up fast. DK Metcalf being suspended for the Steelers? Nah, that doesn't add up. Metcalf plays for the Seattle Seahawks. That part was clearly a mix-up in the original info. What is true, though, is that Pittsburgh will be without a key offensive piece for this matchup. And when any weapon is missing, it changes how the Steelers have to attack this game. No matter who's out, an absence on offense always shifts the game plan. It affects timing, play calling, and how much pressure falls on the rest of the lineup. Against a young quarterback on the other sideline, every adjustment matters. What really makes this matchup pop is how different these two teams' paths look right now. Pittsburgh is a polished machine, a franchise built on winning, led by Mike Tomlin, a legendary coach who has never posted a losing season. The roster is stacked, disciplined, and built to chase championships. Cleveland, on the other hand, is stuck in a rough season, sitting at 3-12 and grinding through another tough year. It's a team searching for answers, with a rookie quarterback getting priceless reps, but not much help around him yet. Still, that struggle gives Sanders something big to play for. In a lot of ways, Sanders has more riding on this game than anyone in black and gold. For the Steelers, it's about locking down the division and tightening their playoff spot. Important? Absolutely. But it's just another checkpoint in a long, steady season. For Sanders, this is different. This is about proving he belongs on this stage, about showing he can go toe-to-toe with elite defenses, about laying the first bricks of his reputation as a real franchise quarterback. This game hits deeper. It's about his future, his legacy, and where he fits in this league. Mike Tomlin's comments about Sanders weren't just polite words tossed out before a divisional matchup. That wasn't fake respect or routine coach talk. It was a real acknowledgement of the talent and upside Tomlin sees in this young quarterback. And when praise comes from someone with Tomlin's resume, it hits different. It carries weight. It tells you the Steelers organization sees exactly what Sanders could grow into. Even if Pittsburgh feels solid about their current quarterback situation, they clearly recognize the ceiling Sanders has. That's why the pre-draft meeting matters so much here. It proves this wasn't some random name on a board. The Steelers seriously looked at Sanders as a possible future piece. Teams don't bring prospects in, sit them down, and put them under the microscope if there's zero interest. That's not how this works. The buzz around the league at the time about Pittsburgh possibly grabbing Sanders as he slid wasn't made up. Real conversations were happening inside that building. So why didn't they do it? That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, we may never get the full truth. Maybe they trusted what they already had. Maybe Sanders was graded differently on their board. Maybe something in the interviews or evaluations gave them pause. Or maybe, plain and simple, they missed. Draft night mistakes happen, even to the smartest organizations. But whatever the reason, the reality is this. The Steelers passed, and now they're lining up to face Sanders twice a year for the foreseeable future. That's not just awkward, that's pressure. And that's why Tomlin's growing with company comment stands out so much. It shows he's been watching Sanders closely, not just this week, not just for game prep, but tracking his development, his environment, and how he's handling the grind. That kind of attention says more than words ever could. Mike Tomlin hasn't just glanced at Sanders on a scouting report. He's been watching his development week after week, tracking the growth, noticing the adjustments, recognizing the direction this young quarterback is heading in. That's not something you do for just any opponent. That's the kind of attention you give to a player who genuinely catches your eye. And let's be crystal clear here. Despite Cleveland sitting at 3-12, despite the thin roster around him, and despite the coaching chaos that Tony Rizzo and others have pointed out again and again, Shedeur Sanders has shown exactly why he was so highly praised coming out of Colorado. The arm talent jumps off the screen, the accuracy is sharp, and the decision-making, while not perfect, has been way ahead of schedule for a rookie thrown into this kind of situation. But it's the intangibles that really stand out: the leadership, the calm under pressure, the way he carries himself in tough moments. Those traits have been impressive from day one. Sanders doesn't look rattled. He doesn't look lost. He looks like someone who belongs. Mike Tomlin sees all of that. He's not selling hype or tossing out empty compliments. When he praises Sanders, he's calling it like it is. And somewhere in the back of his mind, you know there's a quiet question echoing, what if? What if the Steelers had drafted Sanders? What if he was developing inside their system, with their coaching, with their structure? What if instead of preparing to stop him twice a year, he was running Pittsburgh's offense for the next decade? Those are the thoughts that keep coaches and front offices staring at the ceiling at night. Because draft decisions, especially at quarterback, change everything. Get it right, and you set your franchise up for years of success. Get it wrong, and you're stuck watching the guy you passed on shine somewhere else while you scramble for answers. The Steelers have been lucky at quarterback for a long time, from Terry Bradshaw to Ben Roethlisberger, with very few down years in between. But sooner or later, every franchise has to find the next one. And if Sanders turns into an elite quarterback while wearing the colors of a division rival, that draft decision will be debated forever. Every clip, every matchup, every season. From Sanders' side, this game is another chance to stack evidence that he's the real deal at quarterback. Every snap matters. Every throw under pressure builds his resume and shapes how the league views his ceiling. Going up against a Mike Tomlin coach defense is no joke. The Steelers are always prepared, always physical, always disciplined. They don't hand out mistakes, and they force quarterbacks to earn every single yard. If Sanders can move the ball against this defense, make the tough throws, protect the football, and stay calm in the pocket, it's another strong signal that Cleveland may have found its answer under center. The record won't matter. The 3-12 mark won't matter. Playing for pride won't matter. What matters is showing he can compete at a high level against real competition. That I approach every game the same mindset Sanders talked about is exactly where he needs to be right now in his career. He can't get caught chasing outside noise, not the teams that passed on him, not extra hype around divisional games. His focus has to stay locked on the basics. Run the offense, read the defense, do his job snap after snap. The drive to prove people wrong has to stay internal, not something that makes him force throws or play outside himself. That level of maturity is rare for a rookie quarterback. A lot of young players in this spot would make it personal. They talk about having something to prove and load extra pressure onto their own shoulders. But Sanders keeps showing a calm, professional approach that tells you he sees the bigger picture. He understands this is a long game, not a one-week moment. One matchup against Pittsburgh, win or lose, doesn't define him. He knows the real answer to doubters is consistency over time. Years of solid play, not one emotional night. And that's exactly the quality Mike Tomlin is pointing to when he talks about Sanders growing week after week. This isn't just about arm strength or knowing the playbook. It's about the mental side of the game, handling pressure, responding to adversity, leading a team when things aren't pretty. Those are the traits that decide whether a quarterback makes it or flames out at the highest level. And this stage couldn't be more intense. The Steelers-Browns rivalry is one of the NFL's most physical and heated battles, going back decades. These teams flat out don't like each other. The games are always brutal, always emotional, always meaningful, no matter what the standings say. Throw in the subplot of Sanders facing a team that seriously considered drafting him, and the tension jumps to another level. This isn't just another rivalry matchup. This is a statement game for a young quarterback fighting to lock in his future in Cleveland. For the Browns front office, this game and the rest of the season is one long evaluation. They're watching everything. Do they fully commit to Sanders as their franchise quarterback? Do they upgrade the roster and coaching around him? Do they keep building or hit reset again in the draft? Games like this against quality opponents like Pittsburgh provide the clearest answers. These reps matter more than any stat line. And the fact that Mike Tomlin has publicly praised Sanders should give Browns fans real confidence. Tomlin doesn't hand out empty compliments. He doesn't hype opponents for no reason. If he's acknowledging real growth and potential, that carries serious weight across the league. Coaches talk, scouts watch everything. When a respected voice like Tomlin points to a young quarterback and says he's developing, people listen. That's why this Sunday is about way more than playoff implications for one side and a rough season for the other. This game is about futures, reputations, and who's ready to take the next step in the NFL. This moment is about Shedeur Sanders taking another real step forward in his development. It's about Mike Tomlin and the Steelers seeing up close and personal exactly what they may have let slip away. It's about a young quarterback fighting to prove he belongs in elite company. It's respect, competition, and the non-stop evaluation that defines life in the NFL. Once that ball is kicked off, all the noise fades away. All the talk, all the speculation, all the debates don't matter anymore. It comes down to execution. Can Sanders make the throws? Can he handle the pressure? Can he lead his team against a playoff-level opponent? Those answers won't come from interviews, they'll come from the field. And those answers will shape how the league views Sanders moving forward. Mike Tomlin's strong words about Sanders weren't just pre-game politeness. They were a real acknowledgement from one of football's sharpest minds that he's watching a young quarterback with serious upside. It was proof the Steelers studied Sanders closely, respected what they saw, and maybe, just maybe, felt a hint of what if about the one that got away. Now we want to hear from you. Did the Steelers make a mistake passing on Shedeur Sanders in the draft? How do you think he'll perform against Pittsburgh's tough physical defense? Does this game carry extra meaning because of the draft history? And what does Sanders need to show to lock in his status as Cleveland's franchise quarterback? Is Tomlin's praise real or just coach talk before a divisional showdown? Drop all your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get a real conversation going about what this matchup means for both teams, and especially for Sanders' future. And if you're hyped for this game like we are, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our coverage. We'll be breaking down everything before and after this matchup. This is more than Steelers versus Browns. This is about legacy, potential, and what might have been. We'll see how it all plays out on Sunday. See you on the next one.